GPT. This is why I haven't posted this.
Hey there, welcome to another video.
The other ones.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to convert from polar to rectangular coordinates, and the next video from rectangular to polar.
See, I already seen the other
Converting
one.
from polar to rectangular is a little bit easier, a
And
little bit
one after
nicer.
that.
We'll see that right now. But let's talk about exactly how in the world do we do this. Hopefully you remember how to even graph these polar coordinates, so that what a polar coordinate really does, it gives you
Magnetic
r,
north, polar,
comma, theta.
north
It gives
is
you
your
a
north.
distance from something that we call the pole.
These are these 3
along
points
an
right here.
Angle with the
North
polar
is here,
axis.
because even though north
this
is
point
in
creates a
space,
polar
it's
axis
moving in
along some
space.
sort of array. And so all of our polar
And between
coordinates
here
are
and here
r,
is
comma,
North
theta.
Pole and where I might position on it for north. And so between moving in space numbers and Greenland.
Now, that's great, but sometimes
It's
we actually
problem.
do like to see rectangular coordinates.
If you're
we're really
walking
used to
on
it.
the surface of the planet
Rectangular
and you draw a
coordinates
line
are
here
x,
about
y.
that distance and being lensed some ways in Earth having gravity of the weak force, these numbers imply the framework in
So,
which
is there a way to
light
get
was
from here
lit.
to here?
But
Yeah,
this
if I'm doing a
is
video on it, there's going to be a
blink,
way to do
blink,
it.
blink, 1111111.
So how do we do that?
So now that
If
you know
we
that
understand
bit code,
what this actually means,
I
that
needed to
r,
do
comma,
a
theta
series
is
of
a
ones and
distance
zeros.
from the pole
I needed to
along some sort of angle that we create with what acts as an x-axis, like a polar axis, then we can create a triangle. So
say,
if this is
if
our
I accurately
theta for
graph a
polar
thing
coordinate,
and
and this is
it,
our r,
it's
this is for the
here
pole,
in the
then
pursuit
when we
algorithm,
draw
45,
perpendicular
let's
right
say.
down to that polar axis, then if we superimpose
Inside of
this
there,
x, y coordinate system,
if
this distance
I
at that point would just
call
be y.
military numbers are this, that's pretty much straight ladder up
And this
to
distance to
pulling
where that
boards,
point would fall on that
racing the
x-axis
machine,
would just be x.
overclocked. But then I dropped on the clock
Now,
and it says
I
so I
hope
can
that
find
you
some
see the
monkeys,
beauty
a
in this,
marine, and
because
anybody else that
our
holds
right triangle
inside of here for
trigonometry
this
is going to make it
ant
very
diagram
easy to
here,
convert from
climbing
polar
whatever.
coordinates into rectangular.
100
So we thought
times your
polar
weight.
just means r, comma,
You're
theta,
dancing.
distance from the
Using
pole
levers
along
and
some sort of
pulleys
an
and
angle.
being a mad
Let the
ant.
angle be
There you go.
superimposed on an x, y coordinate system. That point will have a certain vertical
So,
distance. It's y.
There's an average
That
to it,
point will have
and
a
if I
certain
aim for that
horizontal distance.
average,
That's
that's
x.
great. If I'm doing
Let's
better
use
than
your
that for
trigonometry. What
longer
in
than
the
2
world would we
days,
know?
because on my
Well, we know
approximation of
sine,
that,
cosine, and
the
tangent.
spin on that
So
thing
what sine would do?
starts to
Sine would
have
take
right
sine of whatever
hand
angle we
spin,
have
right?
equals opposite over
And
hypotenuse.
that
or
radiant
sine
would
of theta
cover
equals
one
y over
in
r.
any kind of lensing of general relativity of, well, that's not really what happened, this number of how many boards I pushed. But if they were all cants, all just 4x6s instead of any fancy board to go with it, and we threw all the rest away, didn't care. Sine.
Cosine of theta is always the adjacent over the hypotenuse, or x over r.
I'm about to take this rocket ship and throw it to Mars.
And tangent of theta, just from our right triangle trigonometry, is opposite over adjacent, or y over x. Man, we've seen this for a really long time. Now think about what's going on
In
here.
this quadrant right
We
here,
want to somehow
watching this video,
take what we know about r and theta,
there's a connection
take
between
what
this
we know
line
here
and that
and what we
surface
know
of the
here,
quadrant right
and
there will
solve
fall
for
in the
x,
pipe
y.
in that
But wait a minute.
orientation.
Do you
Zoom
see
to this
y
orientation.
and x can be solved for right here? If we just multiply this equation
So what is
and
F1
this
plus
equation
F2 in
by
here?
r on
Well,
both sides, we're
hydrogen
going to end up
here,
with y equals r sine
helium
theta,
here,
and
because
x equals r
units
cosine theta.
by those things correlate time, space in that way. So this not being the direct correlation to that, first you have to figure out what y equals r cosine is. So I was walking in the mill, I found 1 radian, which is board stacker duties, which
This
is
is
also
all you need in
operator,
order to
a
convert
loader
from polar
duties.
coordinates into
X,
rectangular
R
coordinates.
cosine.
This is it. All you got to do is
I can't
find
use
your
the
y and
same
your x.
board
Put them in the correct
stacker's
order, of
duty
course.
to
X,
get
comma,
the
y.
ratio
But look what you're
correctly.
given. If you're given
But
a
they
polar
grab
coordinate,
board
well,
that is an
then you
arbitrary.
have r,
My
and
human
you
body
have theta.
can be
So
made
you
to
would
be
have
a
r here,
machine,
you would have your angle here.
and you
All
could
we've got to do is
satellite
take r
program
times sine of the angle they give you,
a
r
machine
times
to
cosine of
do
the angle they give you, and that will
things,
solve for y coordinate
but
and x
the
coordinate
operator
respectively.
may not be there
That's
for the
all
tech
there
or
is to
need
it.
a human.
Use these, and only these, to convert from
Human
polar to
to do
rectangular. They
these.
give you everything you need here to plug in here and find this. That's great.
At
We're
the end of
gonna
that, this
practice
is going to go AO
So
in an
what
8-bit
does
game.
tangent do?
555 chip.
Tangent is one
This
half
is a
of
switch,
the way you
4
convert
pins
from
right here.
rectangular
Click a button.
back to polar. So
it
if
resets
tangent
it or
beta
steps
equals
it.
y over x,
Well,
then
ones and
the
zeros
angle,
seem
so
to
notice
be
you'll be
both
given y and
a
x in a
reset or a
rectangular
step,
coordinate
and
until
both
you
ones and
negative 2
zeros in
comma 3 or
superposition.
something. You'd be given this. You want to
So
find
back to the
angle.
mill.
How would you do that?
I'd
Take tangent
said
inverse.
what changed the limit over. We thought it was this, but I changed it to this. Is the result still congruent to the equal fractal? So if I get proportionally y over z there in parentheses, that's what I was looking for
This is
based
how
on
you
the
find
long
the angle. If
indexes
you're
of a
given
portion of that
rectangular,
time
right here, y and
by
x,
its total
you
mass
can put that in
decay,
a
rip
ratio
away,
y over x,
if
take
housed
tangent
in
inverse, and it will give
magnets
you
to
your angle. Now,
the photon
this is a
or
little
the
tricky because our
virtual particle.
quadrants can get a little bit messed up. We have to
U.
really watch this. But you might be also thinking, where's the r come in? Well, because this also does create a right triangle,
helps you
Pythagorean theorem works.
pitch
X
down
squared
with it.
plus y squared equals r squared. Leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. You can do that.
Helps you build a business. Helps you
And so if you took a
the
square root
shadow
on both
problem of your
sides,
tomb.
we would end up getting r equals the square root of x squared plus y squared. And you're probably wondering, where's your plus and minus? This is why the
First year,
quadrants have to
second
be
year,
taken into
third year,
account when
fourth
you're
year.
doing rectangular into polar. Because
When
without
you
that
do
negative
this,
r,
because
we
it
can be in
is,
the wrong
it's just
quadrant.
covering
If
the
you want to
index
use negative r, you
under
can,
rectangle
but
and
most of the time
coordinates.
it's easier to find a different angle.
See,
than
the
it
first
is
thing you
to
have to
do
do
a
is go.
negative r.
We were looking at the
long
second
story
step
short is
first. If
This is how you
wasn't
convert
the
from
first
polar to rectangular, and
event
this is how you convert from rectangular to polar. Polar to
in
rectangular
this
is a
form,
little
first
bit
event
easier
in this
because you
form.
don't have to really worry about switching quadrants. This can be a little tougher because we typically keep positive r and adjust our angle to fit
See,
the quadrant.
whatever
with our
your-
rectangular
I want you to
coordinates
think of
where
something.
we're in.
Close your eyes and think
So
of something.
find coordinate
An
first.
apple,
Do all your
light
work to
tower,
figure out your polar,
right on
and
the
then
coast.
locate if that's in the
Superposition
correct
wants to be in
quadrant,
all
switch
those
angles if you have
positions
to.
at the same time.
So I'm gonna write this out that this is
So
for
whatever
polar to
reasoning
rectangular. This is for rectangular.
that
polar.
was important. This is Zen.
We'll talk
man.
about all this
It's
in the next video. So we'll
math
talk
a
about
little
how
bit.
you can find the quadrants of your XY coordinates
They're
that
gonna
order
yoga
pair,
you.
and then
You
we can
literally
use
do
that to
it.
determine
So
your
time
polar
on
coordinates.
units
It's
and
not too
certain
bad. It just requires a
stretches.
little bit more work. Right now, I
Kind
want
of
to
some
focus on
neurology
how we
in
can
the
change
pipes.
from polar to rectangular. We'll still identify quadrants. I'm going to use this to do it, just to make sure we're in the right
In
place.
therapy,
And then we'll
usually
we'll do that
I've been
pretty
trying
quickly.
to slip
Again,
this to
it gives you
psychologists. Like let this play off in the
everything you need.
background and just have
If
regular
you have a
session.
little bit of anxiety around the idea of
What do you
taking
mean? Like
calculus, I
everything
would
you're about to
encourage
do,
you
ask them
to give
questions,
it a
what their
chance.
name is, their habits, drinking, where they study, who they dating.
All right, let's try a few
Do they like
examples.
your
Just
boss?
converting some
They're-
polar
they change
coordinates
math.
into rectangular
They-
coordinates. We've already seen that it's not too bad as long
I
as
asked
we're
the
given
question,
polar. We can
it carried
identify
through, why
the
did
r
this?
or
There
the
was a
radius, really,
divergent on it,
and
which
the
is
angle we
x
make
to
with the
the
polar axis.
original
So
y
this
question,
theta.
middle
And according
phase,
to that, we know that
x, y,
because
z.
sine theta equals y
Between
over r,
the
y
beginning of it
equals
and
r
the
sine
end of
theta,
it, there
x
was
equals r cosine theta. So
these
here's
two
the
main
process
gaps
going
were
through.
still kept x,
Number
y,
one,
and
we're going to
z.
take a look at our polar
Scale
coordinates
change,
here,
zoom.
identify the r, and identify the theta. Really write it down. That way, when you're converting to
I look
x
at
and y for a
Hancock, but
rectangular
Hancock has a lot of
coordinates, you know
companies I've
exactly
worked
where to
at,
look.
and the maps
So when we
are
take a look at this,
radically
r is always
different.
first in polar coordinates. So r is 4 here.
So when you change x, y, z like that without any step mechanics,
And our angle
you
is
get
3 pi over 2.
lensed out, spaghettified neutron star. They don't realize that's what it is because it's
Once
zeroed
we've
out.
done that, think about what quadrant we're in. Now,
When-
it's not such a big deal from polar coordinates to rectangular.
One of the
because
things
we're
I'll tell
never
you is
gonna
good
make a mistake
zero
on what
but he's giving you
quadrant,
the basic foundation.
this
Just try to
actually
remember it
actually
while
has.
you're out there. It's
But
like, what do you mean?
going
It's like,
from
do
rectangular to polar, that does make a difference.
To be a
and the reason why
mathematician,
it does
I
is
have to be able to
because
take a
tangent
polar
inverse
coordinate to a
only
rectangular
gives you back
coordinate.
angles
Okay,
on
well, that's great.
quadrants
I'm
4
just sitting in my
or
car,
1, negative
eating a
pi over 2, pi
cheeseburger
over
at
2.
McDonald's,
So if
and I have
something
a
is
piece of
actually in
paper.
quadrants 2 or 3, we have to
You
manipulate
saw
it.
this.
That doesn't happen here, but
Most
it's good
of it
practice to get
retained.
in just to check your work
Maybe
and make
you
sure
wrote it
you're there.
down in notes.
So if we think
Can you
about
do it again without it?
an angle of 3 pi over 2
That's an angle
all
of
the
3
way
pi
right
over
there,
2.
and
dimensions,
a radius of 4
pi
or
or the
r4,
area,
that's
or the pi,
1, 2,
3.145,
4.
which is
We are
3,
actually
1,
right on
2,
the
2,
negative
4.
y-axis. So we know
2
that
times
this
2 is
is
4.
kind of a
Even
quadrant
if
angle.
the
So we're not
first
in a
quadrant
quadrant,
is
we're on one of the
3.1,
quadrant angles
there's
there. So
still
we should end on the
2
negative y-axis. If we
decimals of the
don't,
fractal
we have a
to
mistake. It's a
1
great way to
tenth.
check your work. So now that we've got our
Get you
r's
8
for our
and
theta is 3
8-bit
pi over 2,
fractals,
all we
hexes,
really have to
and
do is find x and y. It doesn't really matter which order you do it in. So I'm
well, it's
going
like
to start
finding
with
the
y.
area here. Again, it's a spider web, really. You hear
Y
it
equals
from
r sine
ting,
theta. So if r bar
and
is
if
4,
it's a little left or a little right, it'll be some IH or XR. Or
and our theta is 3 pi
But
over 2,
mathematically,
we're just going
you
to
would
look at it in
say
a circle
3
or your calculator
pi
or whatever you
over 2, really, or
really need to do
3
this.
pi over
Sine
2.
of
With
3 pi over 2
these
is
two
negative 1.
things, they have
So
two
4
different
times negative
simples.
1 is
This is the
negative
same
4.
thing. These are the same thing. So 1, 4, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
X is found really similarly, but instead of using sine, we're going to use cosine.
Still an
That doesn't make
operator in
sense.
the place.
Sine was really always
It just
associated
straightens
with
it
a
out,
y
yes.
type of idea. Y over
Doesn't
r.
care about operator in
Cosine's
here. It
always
just kind of
associated with
factors
x
that
idea, x
the
over r.
wave
So if we take
in
our
here is
r
going
of
to hit
4,
X. It's going to split. It's going to wave around it. There's still going to be transfer
and
energy,
cosine of our angle,
which changes
so
the
our
code and the
cosine
transformation
cosine of 3
information.
pi over 2 is 0.
And so you
X
have to stay with the
coordinate of
code
that angle
to
is 0.
break down
Times 4 is still 0, so x is 0.
why the decay of hydrogen turns into tritium, not
If we put
hydrogen.
that together, just make sure you do it in the right order. It's not negative 4, 0, it's 0,
or not
negative 4.
durium.
Remember, we're converting from polar, which
Tritium,
is
not
always our theta,
durium.
into rectangular, which always is xy. So this is 0, comma, negative 4.
The gaze up, not down.
Now, the reason why we talked about
That's
the
your
quadrant
PD.
was so that you can check your work.
That's chaos.
0, negative 4 is you go over 0, you would go down 4.
But these are all
hey, that's on the negative
zeroed
y-axis.
from the step.
These both refer to the
'Cause,
exact same point. It's
again,
just a
you're
different
from
way to
field
get
theory.
there. Polar says, find me an angle and then go a distance out from that. And rectangular says, use an x and use a y to rectangularly get to the
The
same
game
exact
is
point. That's
have
just
one
about it.
for
We're gonna
field theory,
practice a
Leonard.
few more, but
If
this
you have
really
it for
kinda
field theory,
shows
you can
what you'll
keep
be doing
reminding
to
them
convert
of
from
it
polar
because
to
it
rectangular.
was cross multiplied down to
Let's
this
try
grid
this one. So we have a
arbitrarily.
point in polar coordinates.
What
that
did
we
I
wanna
see?
change to
Using
rectangular.
field theory
The
equations,
very
the
first
first
thing we're
step
gonna
to
do,
the
if
last
we
step
know we're in
that
polar
covered the
coordinates,
reduction
is give the r and the theta. R is always first.
down
in this
to the
order pair.
reset
So
button.
R is
Because so when
-2,
it comes up again,
and
this
our theta
will
is
be
0.
reminiscent of field theory, beta u, beta v, in a lot of ways. But we're not
After
doing
that,
that
we're going to look at
tight.
the quadrant. So -2, 0 in polar coordinates means your
There's
angle
some,
is 0.
I'm
So
one of them two
we're really on the
variances
polar
why
axis,
you can't
but
use
-2 means
hydrogen
we're going
directly
this way,
here
so we'd say,
because
hey,
bond
we're not
limits
going up, it's
and
not positive, it's not negative,
it
it's at
breaks down
0,
the quantum
but
limit
-2
because you're
is
going to want to do
1,
zero
2
math
positive,
and numbers
but
where I need
this way would
Bernoulli
be
stuff.
-2. So we're really over here.
So
It's on this.
they
this
are
negative
always centered
x-axis, so it's
congruent
not a
no matter
quadrant
what
angle, really.
optic. It's a
Let's see if
singularity,
the
but it's also an
rectangular coordinates do the same
expansive
thing.
of
In
what
order to
is
convert,
the
we
limit
just
of
need to know R and theta.
singularity.
We've written it down so that we're sure what they are. Find x or
I mean, I know
y
it to be
in any order
hydrogen.
that
It
you
has
want.
to be.
It doesn't really matter. Some people like
Space
finding x
without
first because they
hydrogen
know
in
to
it
put that
is
first in the order pair for rectangular
can't be
coordinates.
anything.
That's fine. So x is given by whatever your R is, cosine of
So-
whatever your angle is.
Between that and hydrogen, first decayed generation stars to decayed to hydrogen and
So
supernova.
cosine of 0 is 1.
Stack
Find
to
out in a
iron,
circle, you memorize
or
it.
whatever the
Use
phase
table.
operator
Cosine of
would
0
be.
is 1. 1 times
This.
-2 is -2. Now notice something. You
That's
don't
deep
have to
field.
worry about what
Instead
quadrant
of
you're in with polar
the stone
because
mill,
these
me looking
negative
like
R's
Pi
and
Tiger
angles
into
tell you
the
precisely where you're at, and those signs
into
really do
the wood
translate
chipper.
into rectangular coordinate system very, very well.